In recent years, interest has grown in goat meat production, driven partly by lower beef and lamb returns. Boer goats have been in New Zealand since the late 1980s, and some believe there's big potential for growth. North Fork Boers is a large producer of Boer goat meat. Based in Alexandra, it runs 3,000 to 4,000 animals.
Well, we run a meat goat business with Boer crosses. We run them on 3 properties. There's the Clyde block, which is about 3,000 acres. There's the Springvale block, which is 1,500 acres. And we've got a 650-acre farm here, which we also run goats on. We deal with 2 marketers, both North Island based, but they kill down here in Oamaru. And they buy all that we can produce and paying pretty good money for them. We get somewhere between $45 and $80 for an animal. It's a growing market. The demand for goat meat in the worldwide is huge. It's the most eaten meat in the world. And we can't produce enough for the markets to absorb. In the last sort of 10 years since I've been farming goats, we've had trouble with these big meat companies not killing when we want to, and it suited them. They penalised us pretty heavily for animals that were over heavy. And now these marketing companies that we're dealing with now are paying good money, they're paying premium for the right animals, and they are getting killed on a regular basis, which is something we've been wanting for a long time. Get out of it. Well, I hope the future is to expand the amount of goat farmers in New Zealand. I mean, it's a product where it's easier to produce in some ways than sheep. We're not having to dag. I don't drench any of the commercials. We don't have foot problems down here, no crutching. So from that point of view, there's less work with the animal. Just containment and fencing is the biggest issue that we spend a lot of time on. Yeah, traditionally, goats have just been a menace or a pest to a lot of people, and they got a bad name through feral goats and that sort of thing. But these Boers, once they crossed over with Boer blood in them, they're a very farmable animal. They mix in with other stock in other farms well, because a lot of stock they won't eat ragwort, or won't eat the thistles, or won't eat the broom, or the gorse. Goats complement a lot of farms, and we did 3 years as a goat monitoring group with 15 farms involved, and compiled information for meat and wool. And it was showing there that goats integrated with other farm or other stock were enhancing the other stock that they had, whether it be cattle or sheep. If you bring in small amounts to do weed control, then there's no impact at all on their current stocking rates. A goat is about 0.75 of a stock unit, and depending on what it's eating, it could even be less. The infrastructure is different for goats, as it is for deer, as it is for sheep. And as you see around the yards, we've started to lift up the height a wee bit. But we do work a lot of our animals behind ordinary sheep Prattley yards on the larger blocks, and a few get over the top, but majority of them will stay inside Prattley yards. But yeah, that's a big thing with goat farming, is to keep the fencing right, and electrics is a great thing too for goats. They learn quickly with that.
Tony Grayling is a breeder and major shareholder in the company.
And in 1915, I think it was, they got serious about creating a breed, and some of them started selecting for the present Boer characteristics. And the breed was eventually registered in 1957.
Sit down and stay there.
Because they've had contact with people, Boer goat is a lot quieter than other goats, and they're a lot faster growing. Australian figures indicate that a Boer cross on Australian ferals will reach meat size in half the time of the ferals. My aim with breeding Boers is to breed easy care, tough bucks that will thrive under these commercial conditions here for the meat industry. Yeah, I'd like to win an odd show along the way and that sort of thing, but it's not really important to what I'm aiming at.
Basically, I came down here and joined Tony and Neil and others who had already come down here to target the Central Otago area, because climatically and plant-wise, it is probably one of the world's best environment for Boer goats specifically. What we're doing down here, we're trying to build up numbers. So we're using methods of open transfer, to increase numbers rapidly off our top genetic animals, and that'll take a few years to build up a reasonable flock of boars. We have a reasonable spread of genetic, and that's partly due to some of the imported lines that have come through. But the problem we faced with imported animals was to actually go through the genetic and find the animals that were going to be suitable for our style of farming in New Zealand. Once we have secured that, then we'll have a better idea of the width of genetic. It will certainly have narrowed by that time. I think we must maximise the qualities of the Boer goat. It's superb temperament. Secondly, we are targeting very tough animals, and we have found that they are coming out of the Northern Cape and the Kalahari area, where they had already come out of an extremely tough environment that was probably even tougher than here we have in Central Otago. Boars thrive in very hot, dry conditions. So in the summertime, this is pristine Boer environment climatically. In the winter, because the boar has more flesh on it and can grow a bit of cashmere, it is well endowed to actually endure extreme temperatures of here up to -13. Here's an import from Lucasburger and Pitnuit in South Africa, and leaves very tough kids. Very agile from the day that they're born, which is important in this area because we have very heavy frosting. His yearlings are good size, and his weaning kids wean out very heavy. We're looking for a good horn set. In this buck, it's fairly well exhibited here. Horn spacing wide here at the base so that hooves can't be caught in there, as you see in a lot of ferals with these flanges. Also, the horns are swept back, and so they can't injure other animals when they're fighting. Also, with this animal, he's got good length of back, reasonable hind end, and muscling. And that's what he's leaving in his progeny, but temperament is excellent.
These ones here are young animals, less than 18 months old, some less than 12. They're the premium grade. They've got their 2 teeth, then they qualify for premium. So they are very much a mixture of feral cross-based ones, not a lot of Boer in some of these. But still we get the same money whether they're Boer or a crossbred, just based on weight. Some of these, they'll kill out between 12 and 18 kg is what we're hoping, and that's where the premium range of money is. Coming in with no information at all, you'd be pretty game. I think you'd have to do some homework on goats. But if you've got the fencing secure, ask someone, meet and wall, or someone in goat farming, what sort of fencing that you should have, or what standard. And then that's your biggest problem sorted. If you've got them contained, then the rest is not too bad.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.